It's time now for Well Talk with Avi Dressner on AM 1420 WBEC. Underwritten by the Berkshire Co-op Market in Great Barrington, Take2Pillows.com, and by Haddad Dealerships of the Berkshires, where they keep your business in the Berkshires. Well Talk does not endorse the opinions of the guests who appear on the show and has not validated any representations or claims made by them. Anything that could impact your health, fitness, and wellness should first be discussed with your doctor.
'Cause he gets up in the morning and he goes to work at night, and he's all so healthy in his body and his mind. He's a well-respected man about.
Welcome to Well Talk, the weekly show devoted exclusively to your health, fitness, and wellness, and this week to soccer in particular. I'm your host, Avi Dressner, happy to be here today with Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts women's soccer coach Deb Raber. Coach Raber, welcome to Well Talk.
Good morning, Avi.
And if you want to learn more about Coach Raber and her team, you can click on her picture at welltalkradio.com and follow the link. So, Coach, believe it or not, this show has some listeners on the West Coast, and just in case they think MCLA is a school in Los Angeles they've never heard of, why don't you say a few words about the school, please?
MCLA is a member of the state university system. We're located in North Adams, Mass, in the extreme northwest corner of Massachusetts. It's exciting times up here. We just opened a $40 million science center under the guidance of Dr. Mary Grant. We're the Berkshire's only public liberal arts four-year college, and even more exciting, for the third year in a row, we've been ranked in the top 10 from U.S. News and World Report for the public liberal arts colleges in the United States.
Well, you know, I'm glad you mentioned the Science Center because that was actually where I was going next with this. First of all, congratulations on that. And secondly, do you think that that's going to give you an unfair advantage in soccer since now you're going to be able to implant frog muscle fibers into your players' quads?
I think so. We're doing some research on some Achilles tendon work, too, so maybe we'll jump higher and run faster.
Well, you know, Coach, the teams at MCLA are called the Trailblazers, so I thought it was a fair question. That would be blazing a trail indeed. All right, though, leaving frog muscle fibers out of the conversation, why don't we start by having you say a few words about your team and how your season's going so far?
So far, so good. Our freshman class is fantastic. One of our freshmen, Natalie Caney from Belchertown, not too far away as well. She's leading the conference in scoring right now. Definitely the youth of our program is fantastic. We compete in the Massachusetts State Collegiate Athletic Conference. It's a Division III conference. We're also in with Bridgewater, Fitchburg, Framingham, Mass Maritime, Worcester, Westfield, and Salem. And so that's our conference, and then we have some really good out-of-conference competition as well. And we venture over into New York, too. And we want to have New York schools on our schedule because for the college itself, we have a tuition reduction program for all of New York. So it's all the way out to Erie, Champlain, to Montauk. That the kids from New York take advantage of our ANY program, and they only pay $500 above Massachusetts in-state tuition. So if you look at our roster, we're almost 50-50 New Yorkers to Massachusetts residents.
What's your record so far this season?
So far, we're 5-6. We're 1-1 in the conference. We had a very important win the other day against Fitchburg State, and we play Framingham State, who's the top of the conference, this weekend. So definitely looking forward to it. And
how many games do you have left in the season at this point?
We have 7 games left.
So what are the postseason chances looking like?
If we keep playing like we played the other day, we have a very good chance of making. We take the top 6 teams in our conference and then the playoff format from there. So as it stands right now, again, if we keep playing the way we played the last few games, we're going to be one of those 6.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. So,
thank you.
Coach, you mentioned this already, but in addition to coaching women's soccer, you're also the fitness center director at MCLA. And many of the coaches there seem to wear 2 hats like that, or 2 whistles may be the better analogy, but this seems like a really good one for a coach to have in their back pocket. So first, can you talk about what you do as the fitness center director, and then I want to zero in on your strength and conditioning background in general before we talk about how you apply that with your players.
As far as the fitness center director, I'm just responsible for the day-to-day operations and upkeep for the general usage facility here at MCLA. We've gone through a huge renovation over the last couple of years with updates in both cardio strength equipment, and I try to bring in the latest of knowledge that's going on out there in the strength and conditioning and fitness world.
This is for students in general. This is not for the athletes, right?
Right. We have one facility here on campus, so this general student population is right in with the athletes, and it's a nice mix, a good-sized facility for the size of the school that we have and the student population that we have.
Well, when I was at Cornell, we actually had different facilities for the athletic teams and for the general student population, mostly because, they kept stopping us for autographs and things like that, and it was just too hard to get through your workouts. So.
Yeah, that kind of happens here sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. But no, because of the size of the school and whatnot, and, we do have 13 athletic teams, so it's not huge by any means. So I think we do an amazing job with the facilities and the equipment that we have to make sure that our student athletes and our general student population has the opportunities to stay fit.
So let's talk now, Coach, about your strength and conditioning background.
I'm a certified personal trainer, so what I do every single year is I make sure that I go to a few workshops a year and then the Perform Better Summit at the end of every year. I'm constantly looking to do professional development to make myself better until I go for the big test from the National Strength and Conditioning Association, which will happen very soon.
Well, and just for people out there, there's a couple certifying bodies that you want to ask your trainer if they're certified by them, or if you hear that they are, you can pretty much rest assured that they know what they're doing. And one of them is certainly the National Strength and Conditioning Association. It's one of the most sought-after certifications. Mine is the American College of Sports Medicine, which is no slouch either. So
yeah, not at all.
We're in good company here, Deb.
There you go.
So now, Coach, I really want to talk about how you bring that background to bear for your players, for the athletes that you coach. And I'd like to know specifically what type of conditioning the athletes are doing in terms of cardio, weight training, coordination, all that stuff. I mean, what does a soccer workout look like?
Let me just start by saying, last year, I talked about the importance of professional development, and we're doing tons of it all the time. I'm always dragging someone with me to go do it, so there's more than just myself in our department knowing this information. But I went down and I did my functional movement systems, so I'm FMS certified level 1 and 2, and that completely changed my perspective on strength and conditioning and how we do things here. So we'll put our teams through, the teams that choose to take advantage of it, we'll put our teams through an FMS screen, 7 basic movements, and we'll see where people are asymmetrical or symmetrical, and we'll work on their deficiencies to hopefully help them get stronger and reduce injury. That's our hope. So then what we do is we take that FMS and we analyze it, and we see specifically what each student athlete needs, and we tend to see patterns. So our programs are all based on the FMS. If we see something that's an injury or something that's nagging or there's pain involved in it, that's where our team approach with our athletic trainers and our physical therapist and our team doctor come in to try to sort that out. And it's out of my scope, so I send them down there so that they can figure out where that pain and the source of pain is coming from. And then from the FMS, then what we do is we have our women, I'll talk specifically for soccer, is we have them on a year-long lifting program, again, based on the strengths and weaknesses of the FMS. It's not your traditional lifting program where it's like, here's your bench press. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I know there's a lot of people who do. It's just, I think you're upright and you're moving. Train upright and moving. That's what we do a lot of. And the kids who have really stuck to the program, they've seen the benefits of it. And we have a couple kids that are just rock solid, and the hits they take make me cringe. And I know that if they weren't on this lifting program, they would be injured.
Well, we're going to talk about injury in a little while, but I'm curious then, obviously this is about functionality. So You've got a bunch of women who are running around at top speed and jostling around. I mean, I trained a soccer player once, and, a lot of what we did was he just had no upper body strength, and he would get just pushed off the ball constantly. Sure. So one of the things that we did was work his upper body, do things like rows to work his upper back and tricep work so that you could, sort of elbow people out of the way, for lack of a better term. I mean, that's, I think, an underviewed perspective on the game, because we think of soccer as primarily legs, and I'm sure there's a ton of leg workout that you do, but can you talk about that mix between upper and lower body for something like soccer?
Oh, for sure. All of our programs are a mix. Like, we don't have an upper body day and a lower body day. I believe, like you said, it's got to be more functional. If you think about holding off someone, your upper body is going to help in that, and then you look at the link between your upper body and your lower body, it's all in the core. So we spend a lot of time doing core work as well. It's a total body program that we do. We superset it, so they're doing antagonist movement, they go through it pretty quick. Once they get it, they're working hard. They lift heavy. We do a lot of deadlifting, do a lot of split squatting, and we bring a lot of function into it as quickly as possible.
You're geeking out on me, Coach. Split squatting, deadlifting, antagonists. Come on, this is a general listenership. They're all like, what?
All right, I'll make it simple. So we have a lot of, we'll do a push motion in one, and then the next exercise would be a pull motion. And then we add a squat motion to it.
Got it.
So,
much better, thanks.
Push, pull, squat. There you go.
We're going to take a quick break right now to hear from today's sponsors. And when we come back, we'll be continuing our conversation with Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts women's soccer coach, Deb Raber. Back on Well Talk right after this.
The Fieldhouse at Canaan, in Canaan, New York, 15 minutes from Pittsfield, on the western edge of the Berkshires, is a world-class indoor sports facility for children and adults with a high-performance multi-sport field featuring individual and team practice space for soccer, lacrosse, baseball, football, ultimate frisbee, and even remote-controlled flying. Plus, the Fieldhouse offers regular fitness classes like Zumba and yoga. One visit is all it takes to understand why their motto is "Where I Learned to Love the Game." For more information, call 518-288-8342 or check them out at thefieldhousecanaan.com.
And we're back on Well Talk, the show about your health, fitness, and wellness. I'm your host, Avi Dressner. Happy to be here today with Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts women's soccer coach, Deb Raber. So, Coach, you've already mentioned this, but no matter how hard athletes train, and frankly, sometimes because of how hard they train, injury is a constant in any sport. And each sport has its characteristic injuries, but women's soccer seems to be plagued by much more ACL injury than men's soccer. So first, can you describe what that injury is for those of our listeners who may not be familiar with it? And then let's talk about what, if anything, can be done to prevent it.
Sadly, myself, I'm very familiar with it. I tore my anterior cruciate ligament playing soccer. Thank goodness my career was over. It was a contact injury for me. Sadly, I've watched in the last few years a lot of our women do it. I shouldn't say a lot, it's like 5 of them. But at that point, you know you got to do something better. We know we have to look at something to address this issue. So picking the brains of every single person I come across, the physical therapists, the athletic trainers, if someone had an answer to how to prevent it, you're sitting on the $1 million question. You know, there is no answer right now to that, but what we can do is we can really focus in on solid lifting programs to address what we know can be some deficiencies, especially in the women. So we do a lot of deadlifting to tax the hips and the glutes and the hamstrings.
And just so people know, deadlifting is not lifting dead bodies. What deadlifting is it's lifting a weight off the floor until you're basically straight up, and then, it moves, I don't know, what would you say, Deb, about 1.5 feet, and then you bring it back down. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, and there's a few different variations of it as well. We'll use kettlebells. We'll do single leg deadlifting. The idea mostly with deadlifting is that your shin pretty much stays perpendicular to the floor and your hips go back, whereas a squat, you think your hips are going more up and down and your shin does travel forward a little bit.
And you've found some success in preventing injury with this, or it's hard to say?
It's hard to say, but again, there's been a couple of the women who were here over the summer, and they really focused in hard on that program. And as I mentioned before, there's one in particular, the kid's 5 feet tall, and the hits that she takes, they're bone crunching, and she just pops right back up like it's nothing. And that was one of the women who last year had to sit out because of her second torn ACL.
But what you see with a lot of these injuries is also that they're happening non-contact, right? I mean, somebody cuts a certain direction on the field, and then the next thing you know, they're crumpled on the field. Yep,
very true. And all of ours have been contact, but I have seen players who, there's no one around them, and the cut happens. And it's interesting, there's so much information out there on YouTube or whatever that you can look up and even just see how shin angle of a cut affects the kneecap, or how it affects the knee and puts it in compromising positions.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you and I were talking about this actually when I first invited you to be on the show, and we talked about the reasons why women in particular seem more susceptible. I mean, they're clearly, I don't have the exact statistics, maybe you do, but clearly women suffer from this injury more than men do. And the question is why? Again, I don't want you to get all geeky on me with Q angles, but...
No, I won't do that. It seems to be that every single time we think we know what it is, and you already alluded to it, there's a lot of talk about Q angles. And then there was talk about the menstrual cycle. We're trying to figure it out, but no one seems to have an answer to it. So really what we can do is just focus in on what we do know and combat it with a solid lifting program. And, a lot of people, they just talk about, okay, hamstrings and glutes. Well, we really got to focus in on, like you said a little while ago, the entire body. Because of the core, if the core breaks, it's all going to go to the legs.
Sure.
And we have to be solid all the way up the chain.
Well, and you need lateral stability, obviously, on both sides of the knee, not just front and back stuff. So,
absolutely.
But, just so the listeners out there get a sense of what we're talking about, Q angle, if I can sum it up succinctly, it just basically has to do with the fact that women's hips are wider than men's relative to their knees. So they've got more of a sloping angle coming down from the hip to the middle of the kneecap than a man does. And I think it's not massive, but it is significant. I think it's something like 17 degrees for a woman and 13 for a man. Don't quote me on that, but I think, does that sound right, Coach?
Yeah, it's about that. And it's just your ACL runs through the gap between your upper and your lower leg. And if that place is a little bit smaller, all it takes is just a slight shift and it can go. Yeah.
A lot of fun when it happens. I actually had a young woman on the show about a year and a half ago who had an ACL injury in one knee, rehabbed it for 6 months, came back, first game, ACL tear, other knee. I mean, it was just heartbreaking. So, and this is absolutely, you would have a better sense of how common it is, but you're saying 5 women on your team have had it?
Yep.
Out of a roster of what?
It's probably been, that's been over the last 5 to 6 years.
Got it.
And it does, when you see it happen, it's just heartbreaking. It tears at you as a coach when you have to watch a kid go down with that injury, because then you're side by side with them throughout their rehab process, and you're there with them through the doctor's appointments, and it just breaks your heart that they've worked so hard. And then to see them come back, though, and succeed, like there's 3 women on the team right now who are back from ACL, and it's just fantastic to see how hard they're working and the great things that they're doing on the field, knowing what they went through.
Does this affect your playing moving forward, or athletes are able to come back from this injury and be at the same level or, that they were before?
I think there's one kid in particular that I mentioned already. I think she's come back actually bigger, faster, stronger. Because another thing we did with her, too, and what I see oftentimes in rehab programs and whatnot, is they focus so much on the affected leg that the other leg gets lagged behind.
Right.
So the second she came up to the fitness center and we started her on a more functional program after she was released from physical therapy, is we started just really working hard on both legs rather than just that affected leg.
Well, good success story, but if you're a young woman soccer player out there, don't blow your ACL out to get better than you were before.
No. Gosh, it's an awful injury.
We're going to take another quick break right now to hear from today's sponsors, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping up our conversation with Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts women's soccer coach Deb Raber. Back on Well Talk right after this.
The Fieldhouse at Canaan in Canaan, New York, is proud to be hosting Major League Soccer's New England Revolution Training Academy, November 19th through the 21st. Players aged 7 through 14 will learn from the Academy coaching staff through specialized training sessions that focus on both technical and tactical development. For more information and to register, contact the Fieldhouse at Canaan at 518-288-8342 or find them online at thefieldhousecanaan.com.
And we're back on Well Talk, the show about your health, fitness, and wellness. I'm your host, Avi Dressner. Happy to be here today with Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts women's soccer coach, Deb Raber. So, Coach, we're running out of time, but I want to pivot now from the body to the mind. You have a Master's of Education degree in Counseling and Psychological Services with a concentration in athletic counseling. And I was just wondering, how do you bring that degree and that background to bear with the athletes that you coach?
Oh, it was such an altering experience going to Springfield and getting my master's in that. I was a coach prior to that at Castleton State, and I knew things were missing for my career. So going to Springfield and picking out counseling, it just changed things for me. I became a little bit more patient, although I've become more patient over the years, but just hearing people out, the ability to just sit and listen and see things or try to see things from a player's perspective and what they're going through, and my ability to just support them through what can be some very troubling or successful times.
Now, you mentioned Springfield College. I had the Williams College head football coach, Aaron Kelton, on the show about a month ago, who also is a Springfield College grad. And I'm just wondering, did you two cross paths there at all? And do you belong to some sort of Springfield College alum, Berkshire County College head coaches club?
I know, right? We're all over the place. For such a small school that Springfield is, there's so many alums in the athletics world. We're all over the place.
But I guess you were probably there at different times. I'm not quite sure, if you would have crossed paths. But I know he was the quarterback there.
No way. I got to look that up. I got to call and introduce myself to him.
Oh, you mean you've never met him?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
We're 7 miles apart. I haven't met him.
Yeah, he's in Williamstown. You're in North Adams. All right, you know what? I'm going to have to hook you guys up. That'll be my mission after this. Because I think you're roughly the same age, and he's a great guy. It was a great show.
Great.
But I knew I wanted to do a women's athletic show after I did that football show with him, so I figured I would do football, American football, and European football, and talk to you.
Perfect.
So, Coach, any final thoughts before we go?
Oh, just if you prepare appropriately to play the game, and like we've talked about so many times with a total body workout, great things are going to happen for you. You can't expect to go out on a soccer field, or any field for that matter, without the proper preparation. Prepare your body, you'll succeed.
Now, for the amateur players out there, do you have any tips for them or any resources that they can check out that will help them with their weekend pickup soccer game?
Oh, for sure. A lot of what I use is strengthscoach.com, and then I also go on to functionalmovementsystems.com. There is so much information out there. And then for the golfers in the world, if you go on to myTPI, TitleistPerformanceInstitute.com, there's a tremendous amount of videos. Dr. Greg Rose has done an amazing job with that. So those are 3 big ones that I typically use.
Terrific. Thanks for that. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I really want to thank today's guest, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts women's soccer coach Deb Raber. You can learn more about her at welltalkradio.com. But, Coach, why don't you tell people where to go for more information about the MCLA women's soccer program and how best to get in touch with you?
All of our contact information is right on our athletics webpage at athletics.mcla.edu, and we also have a Facebook page, MCLA Women's Soccer, where you can find the latest and greatest about our program.
All right, terrific. Thank you so much. Coach, I know you got a class to teach, so I'm going to let you go, but thanks again for sharing your time and your expertise with us today, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you so much, Avi.
Thanks. Be well. Bye-bye. And if you want to get in touch with me, your host, Avi Dressner, you can email me at Avi, that's AVI, at welltalkradio.com. If there's a health, fitness, or wellness topic you want to learn more about on the show, a guest you think I should have, or you'd like to sponsor a future show on Well Talk or advertise on it, or you know someone who would, feel free to write me at that email address or call me at the contact number you see there. I want to thank today's sponsors, the Fieldhouse at Canaan in Canaan, New York. For their contact information, check out welltalkradio.com. I want to thank Well Talk's longest-standing underwriter, the Berkshire Co-op Market in Great Barrington, which sponsors a healthy recipe of the week every week on the homepage of welltalkradio.com. And this week, the recipe is for skillet turnips and potatoes with bacon. I'm not sure how the bacon fits into the healthy recipe, but maybe it's turkey bacon. I don't know. But you can find out how to make and enjoy this delicious dish next to the Co-op Markets logo on welltalkradio.com, where you can also check out all the other great and great-for-you foods and wholesome natural products they have to offer, as well as all the important work they're doing in the community. I'd also like to thank another Well Talk underwriter, Haddad Dealerships of the Berkshires. Whether you're looking for a new or pre-owned Toyota, Subaru, or Hyundai, Haddad will keep your business in the Berkshires, and you can link to their website at welltalkradio.com. And last but by no means least, I want to thank another Well Talk underwriter, Take2Pillows.com, with the number 2 spelled out, which makes hand-sewn aromatherapy eye pillows, neck pillows, meditation cushions, and many other stress-reducing yoga and other useful household products with, whenever possible, all natural, organic, and upcycled materials. And you can check them out at welltalkradio.com. Next week on Well Talk, we'll be talking about CrossFit with the owners of CrossFit Pittsfield, Erica and Jamie Law, and Susan Rathbun. So if you want to learn about this dynamic form of exercise, you won't want to miss next week's show. Until then, I'm your host, Avi Dressner. Be well, and tune in next week when we'll talk on Well Talk.
'Cause he gets up in the morning, then he goes to work at night, and he's all so healthy in his body and his mind. He's a well-respected respected man about town.
Thanks for listening to Well Talk with Avi Dressner on AM 1420 WBEC. Underwritten by the Berkshire Co-op Market in Great Barrington. Take2pillows.com and by Haddad Dealerships of the Berkshires, where they keep your business in the Berkshires. Well Talk does not endorse the opinions of the guests who appear on the show and has not validated any representations or claims made by them. Anything that could impact your health, fitness, and wellness should first be discussed with your doctor.